2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4CBS is the number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Moist Mike, Stuart Kovacs, rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Joining us at an hour from now, at the top of the hour, Danny Kanell. And then at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, a man that will be coaching in the college football playoff up against Texas, the head coach of the Pac-12 champion Washington Huskies, Kalen DeBoer, will stop by. But I got to start the show with Tua Tagovailoa. So we've seen before in sports, especially in football, which we all know the quarterback is the most important position, not only in the NFL, but in all of sports. Quarterbacks get paid and get these lucrative deals when they're good, and the money suggests that they're going to be great. Like you've seen it with Dak Prescott. The Dallas Cowboys, it would be very tough for them to move on from Dak Prescott. But when Dak Prescott makes $40-something million a year, I don't think anyone expects Dak Prescott to be this elite, great quarterback. And really for Dak, the big win was this year when there was a 3 or 4 week stretch where a lot of people were starting to say, oh, maybe Dak's going to be the MVP. Oh, this is going to be Dak Prescott's year. And then you get humbled and you get a reminder of who Dak Prescott is last weekend up against the Buffalo Bills, where when it's starting to trend that he's on the verge of having a great season and he's on the verge of being a top 5 quarterback and an elite quarterback in this league and someone that you think, oh, you could go win a Super Bowl with, it crashes and it burns in a bad way, and it happens very quickly with what you saw up against Buffalo, where the team only put up 10 points and they look like they didn't even belong up against a team that's had their own problems in their own right in the Buffalo Bills. So there are quarterbacks now that get paid more than they should. But let me be clear when I say that, I'm not telling you that they don't deserve the money, because you get what someone is willing to pay you. Whether you think that person is worth the money or not is a different conversation. But the biggest dilemma and the biggest problem right now with the quarterback position is we pay the good or very good quarterbacks elite money. And when you get paid elite money, fans should have elite expectations. And there are going to be more and more quarterbacks that are good or above average and that are deserving of a big pay raise and a big contract, where after you pay it, you're going to look back in a few years and go, was it really worth it? But you could only go with what the market is, and it seems as if every quarterback that gets a deal, it resets the market. Like, look at Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has potential to be a star in this league. But right now, Kyler Murray is just a good quarterback and someone that was coming off an injury, but he had really, I thought, no leverage. And then the organization at the time extended Cliff Kingsbury, extended Steve Keim. And then if you were going to extend the guy that drafted and the guy that coached Kyler Murray, how wouldn't you give Kyler Murray a new deal? So Kyler Murray, even though he probably, when you look at the way that he plays, isn't a $40-something million quarterback, he got that big-time money. And once one domino falls for just a good player, all the other good players are going to say, well, I'm going to talk myself into that, and I'm going to get that deal. And if you don't want to pay me and you want to go down this franchise tag road of 2 years, all right, I'm going to get a crazy salary for 2 seasons, and then somebody else will want my services. Because that's the biggest problem when it comes to paying these quarterbacks. You may know giving someone $40, $42 million a year that they're probably never going to live up to those expectations. But what are you going to do? And I know that it didn't come down to necessarily only money with the Patriots, but I know that's the extreme with Tom Brady leaving New England. It's not easy to find that replacement. Drew Brees retiring, moving on from the Saints. It's not easy to find that replacement. And that's to the extreme. Those are 2 of the greatest quarterbacks to ever lace them up. And look how conflicting of emotions there are when we talk about good quarterbacks. Because I don't think anyone believes Dak Prescott's winning a Super Bowl in Dallas. I don't think anyone believes Tua Tagovailoa is winning a Super Bowl with the Miami Dolphins. No one believes that Justin Herbert, who's a really damn good quarterback, is winning a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Chargers. Kyler Murray. Is anyone making a prediction he's going to go on to win a Super Bowl with the Cardinals? And 3 out of those 4 quarterbacks that I just mentioned already got the lucrative extensions. Guys, of course, like Mahomes and Burrow and Josh Allen, they're worth every penny that you pay them. And there's a reason why those guys got taken care of without a hiccup. But for everybody else, it's a tough discussion. And it's a tough decision. Now, I think Jalen Hurts is worth the money. But Jalen Hurts was smart. He cashed in this past offseason, coming off an MVP quality season where he outplayed, even though he lost, Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. And now there's legitimately people, and it's the stupid flavor of the week that we do in terms of football, that coming off that performance up against the Seahawks where he had the 2 interceptions, now people are asking the question, after all offseason, Jalen Hurts is a stud. When they were 10-1, oh, Jalen Hurts is a stud, to now, is Jalen Hurts worth the money that they gave him? And it's a never-ending merry-go-round or roller coaster ride of emotions where until you deliver that team the Lombardi Trophy, or until you consistently show for 3, 4, 5 years that you're a top 5 quarterback, it is the most scrutinized and the most difficult conversation to have is, should you pay the quarterback? And then, is the quarterback worth the money? And like, I look at Tua. Tua would be an absolute fool with, after this year, 1 year left on his contract, it's a 5th-year option, to not cash in this offseason. Because I would challenge the Dolphins. You don't want to pay me? I'll remember it. I'll keep receipts. And the price is only going to go up from here. And that's the other part, too. If you think you have the guy, you almost have to rush to pay him because the price only goes up astronomically each and every year. Because once one of these good quarterbacks gets great money, it opens up the pool to people to sit at and go take a swim in and say, okay, they're worth that money as well. And for Tua, now he's healthy. For the most part, he's been healthy this season. Like, knock on wood, I hope he remains healthy the rest of the season. And he's playing good football. He's not playing elite football. He's not a quarterback that I think wins a Super Bowl this year. But look how long it's taken Miami to find the guy that they like. Just like, not even love, since Dan Marino left them. It's been forever. Like, look at the Bills. Look how long it took them for someone to love once Jim Kelly called it quits. Like, we're talking from the 90s, right, to now the year of 2023, the late 90s to 2023. It takes a long time. So I'm not saying that you have to be head over heels in love with the quarterback, but if you like that quarterback, you know what life is like when you don't have a quarterback that you even like. And we could go through the names and we could do an entire show of people that have quarterbacked the Miami Dolphins through the last 20 years. So Tua is going to cash in this offseason. But let me make it clear, when Tua cashes in, I'm not expecting the Dolphins to win a Super Bowl with him. I'm not expecting him to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. I'm not expecting him to be an elite quarterback, but he's going to get paid like one. And he would absolutely be foolish with his agent and his team to not get a deal done this offseason, because guess what? You have a concussion next year. It starts this debate once again. Can you trust Tua Tagovailoa? Right now, the Dolphins can trust Tua Tagovailoa. Right now, he has a coach in Mike McDaniel that loves coaching and supporting Tua Tagovailoa. And remember, the last coach that was there, Brian Flores, couldn't stand him. The GM, though, Chris Greer, he loves him. So if you have a GM and a head coach that loves the quarterback, and the quarterback's going to go to them this offseason and say, I want to get paid like a top quarterback in the league, they're not going to say no. And they're going to give him, a 4 or 5 year deal, pay him, $40-something million a year, whatever the going rate is, if not north of that. And it's going to be a contract where people are going to say, it's not worth it. But what are you going to do? Where else are you going to go? And like, Miami is an attractive destination. But the last 2-3 off seasons, we've had a ton of quarterback movement. So I don't expect there to be a name that becomes available via trade that you go, okay, that's an upgrade from Tua. And you're too good to get a quarterback in the draft, and then that's a big-time gamble from what you already have, knowing you have a good quarterback. So yes, Tua's going to get a big-time extension this offseason. But I think we need to readjust our expectations in the, not just Tua, but the entire market, and have that conversation of, yes, there are guys that get these ridiculous big-time contracts, and I'll never expect them to win a Super Bowl with their current team. And I look at the Dolphins are a good team. And sometimes the good teams end up winning the Super Bowl. But I don't think the Dolphins, when I look at them, are a team that are anything more than you win the AFC East here and there, and you win a playoff game or two. I don't trust the Dolphins to get to a Super Bowl with Tua Tagovailoa. And we don't know how many more years Tyreek Hill's going to play. And Tyreek Hill is essential to what Tua does. And fair or not, the lasting image so far that I have, and that's why this game against the Cowboys is enormous this weekend, to try to change that conversation. But the lasting image I have of Tua in what's been a positive year, an enjoyable year watching Tua, is that game in Germany and the back-to-back plays up against Kansas City. The severe underthrow and then fumbling the snap. Fair or not, when I think of Tua this year, those are the first three things out of my mouth. He's healthy. He's having a good season. But that ending against Kansas City in Germany was very alarming. By the way, Tua's going to do it to Tua did speak to the media. And I'm laughing here because he tries to say that he doesn't care what the doubters and what the haters say. And I don't consider myself a Tua hater. I know some people may listen to the last 12, 10 minutes of the show and go, oh, Zach, you're being really critical on Tua. No, I'm just saying he's good. I'm not saying he's great. And heck, I picked the Dolphins to win the AFC East before the season started. So there is some belief that I have in Tua, but I don't have the 100% I'm all in on Tua Tagovailoa as my starting quarterback. But Tua was not happy with people that have been doubting on him, and he rips his haters.
I keep saying it. Everyone wants to make this about me, about Tyreek. Like, please, keep pushing it to Tyreek. Like, make it about Tyreek. I understand that my platform and who I am in this league as a quarterback makes me, if you want, polarizing, whether I'm the best, whether I'm the worst. Like, I could care less. Like, I don't listen to it. This is my bearer of bad news, and Nolan. I hate to say that, but that's my bearer of bad news. If anyone has something if anyone has something bad to say about me. But at the end of the day, like, I really don't care. But if she does share it with me, I keep receipts. We all have a way of how we do things, but all the narratives about it, I am only good with Tyreek, and you're right. That is the only time I'm at my best. You're right. I'm only good when Jalen's in. I could care less about it. Like, sure, if Jalen and those guys aren't out, like, I'm only as good as Raheem Mostert allows me to be. That's what the narrative needs to be, and we're able to win games, and we're able to go where we want to go as a team. I am the worst football player, if that's what you want. Like, I don't care. Like, I really don't. So whatever it is, whatever you need on your show, take clips out of what I just said. Do what you need to do. Like that. I'm just here to do my job, and my job is to help our guys win.
That will be perceived one or two ways. The Miami Dolphin fan, the Tua fan, will say, yeah, our quarterback's basically telling all these dopes to bleep off. And if that's the way you want to view it, I think that's your blind loyalty and blind trust to Tua. But I think most people hear that audio and they have concerns now about Tua. Like, I think Tua's a really good quarterback. I don't think Tua's elite. I don't think Tua is a great top 5 quarterback in this league. I don't think you win a Super Bowl with Tua Tagovailoa. But after going off for over a minute and telling us multiple times you don't listen to people that doubt you, but then you keep receipts so you aren't listening to what people say about you that are criticizing you, and you clearly displayed in that minute audio that you are sensitive to people saying, well, he's nothing without Tyreek, or he's nothing without Jalen Waddle. He's only as good as far as Raheem Mostert takes them. Like, there's one thing in not caring who gets the praise, but then there's another thing when you verbalize that and go on this rant for over a minute, that it clearly does affect you and it clearly does get to you in some capacity. And when I hear Tua respond to that, if you truly didn't care, do what Tom Brady, do what Bill Belichick have done for over 20 years. Give the media nothing at the podium. Give the fans nothing at the podium. And even though that audio clip was awesome and it was fun to listen to, it just screams to me as someone that is getting affected by the outside noise. And that even though it may not show up on the field necessarily, it is in his head. And he's spending too much time thinking about it, that you're addressing this at a press conference. I don't know if questions are asked. I get that. And you're responding to the questions. But there is still a way to respond to the question and give the media and give the fans nothing. And quite frankly, I thought that was a bad look for Tua. And it just gives people more ammunition to kind of doubt him, because maybe there's some confidence issues with Tua on his own when he hears this perception about him. And if he truly didn't care, he just wouldn't even address it. Like, when people say things about me or about other people and you disagree with it, yeah, you may fire back here or there, have a witty response. But when you go on over a minute and dissect every part of the argument, clearly you spent too much time thinking about it. I'm okay with using some negative fuel as motivation, some fuel to your fire. But to verbalize that and go through each individual aspect of it, it seems like those conversations as of late regarding Tua are impacting him in some capacity. And this isn't the week to do the victory tour. Your team a week ago choked with the 14-point lead with 3 minutes remaining. And just because you bounce back without Tyreek against the lousy Jets, now you're going to go take a victory lap? Like, the Dolphins really haven't defeated a good team this year. And they'll have 2 opportunities to do that in the next, 3 opportunities in the next 3 weeks with their 3 opponents on the schedule. But now, and I've been someone saying, win the AFC East. Like, that was my goal before the start of the year for the Dolphins. I thought they would do that. But if you don't get to the second round of the playoffs after that whole rant, I actually think you look back at the Dolphins and you're like, you still have some questions left on them for the rest of the way and moving forward. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. How do you view Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback? The way I view him is a good quarterback, but not someone that can be trusted as a great quarterback. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Danny Kanell will join us at the top of the hour. Kalen DeBoer, who's getting ready for a college football playoff game against Texas, the head coach of the Washington Huskies, will join us at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. But when we come on back, Deion Sanders, little Coach Prime talk, reacting to where his recruits did rank nationally and has the luster of Colorado football and Coach Prime have fallen off.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio.
A&M fans, what a bunch of losers they are, by the way. That 12th man, how delusional are those jackasses? Seriously. Mark Stoops is one of the more underrated coaches in the country, and A&M fans were up in arms about Mark Stoops. And Elko, all the luck in the world, but you're getting set up to fail. You really are at A&M. You are getting set up to fail because those fans are absolutely delusional. They may be the dumbest fans in college football.
Here's Zach Gelb.
You can stream the NFL and West of One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every West of One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open West of One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. So Coach Prime in Colorado. I am a fan. Full disclosure, I'm rooting for Coach Prime. I want to see Coach Prime do well. When he was at Jackson State, when people said he's not deserving of getting a big-time job or the next step up, I was like, why? Like, why not? There's so many programs that have no sizzle, no juice, and they hire guys and they bring nothing to the program, and they're there for 3 years, and then they fail. So for Coach Prime, at least you know you're going to get unprecedented attention, and you are going to put your program in the spotlight, even if it doesn't correlate to wins on the field. And I would rather be talked about and be bad than not be talked about and be bad. You know, that's just me. Sometimes there's publicity where people could say, oh, there's bad publicity. I don't know if I necessarily agree about that, where there's something as bad publicity. I think when you're trying to build up a football program, all publicity is good publicity. But I will point out with Colorado, where the hype got through the first 3-4 weeks, it just totally blew the roof off of any fair expectations. Like, I remember filling in on this show in the summer before they were like, oh, we're going to make it Zach's show. And I had a conversation with Samter when I was filling in. And Samter was on an island, and he usually is on an island. He'll have some zany takes. And Samter's very passionate. He backs up his takes. But Samter had a take of it would be a disappointment if Colorado wasn't a 7 or 8 win program. And I was like, pump the brakes. Because I went through their schedule, and I looked at their roster, and I examined their roster. My biggest problem was I didn't think they were built well enough in the trenches. And you even saw it in a victory up against TCU. Had a bunch of changes, but we're in the national championship game. Even though Colorado beat TCU, you looked at them and you were like, they're not built great up front. But you have the star power of Shedeur Sanders, who is now coming back to Colorado, and I ultimately believe he'll be a first-round pick in the NFL. And you had one of the more incredible talents in the sport in Travis Hunter, who, if it wasn't for an injury, and I know he ended up coming back and Colorado still couldn't win games, but it did stop the momentum of what Colorado was doing. And even though you could directly probably correlate it to the team just getting tougher that they were playing, not having Travis Hunter for a stretch was enormous because he makes up a big portion of that team, because not only did you have to replace his production on the offensive side of the ball, probably more importantly, you had to replace his production on the defensive side of the ball. So Colorado winning early against TCU and then following it up with the victory against Nebraska. And then, even though they beat Colorado State, it wasn't by big-time fashion. You had to come on back, the overtime, all that stuff. It got to a level where expectations were changed and expectations were altered, where I think most people were in my camp of 4 or 5 wins would have been a really successful season. And then it was like, 4 or 5 wins when you start the year off 3-0 would not have been good enough. And they didn't make a bowl game. They had that terrible choke to Stanford as well. And they were a bad football team down the stretch. And you saw their weaknesses exposed up front. So Colorado, in this last recruiting class, I was going to be fascinated to see where the numbers were going to be. And at first, you hear all these offensive linemen that they acquired. Like, there was a stretch last week where it was like 5 or 6 offensive linemen committed to Colorado. And it was like, wow. Good for Coach Prime. You get a lot of these guys to transfer over to your school, take advantage of the transfer portal, some coming right out of high school and all that, and you get what is going to look like a total remake of your offensive line. And everyone knew that was going to happen, that Deion was going to hit the transfer portal or was going to hit the recruiting trail hard to go get offensive linemen. Because remember when he got the job, he walked right into the team of the guys that were on the team the year before when they won 1 game, and he goes, I'm bringing my own luggage. And if you're not someone that is committed to this program, and if you don't show me something, you'll be out. And we'll show you the door. And we'll make you quit, and we'll make you leave. So this idea that Deion wasn't going to bring new players in this offseason and wasn't going to try to totally revamp an offensive line that got his son hurt and also was a big reason why they didn't do more than what they were expected to once they got off to that 3-0 start, it would be asinine. Like, it would be, the definition of insanity is to repeat the same thing over and over again and expect anything to change. Like, so you needed to make some changes and also operate in the current landscape of the sport. But what we were sold a week ago, and maybe what we were sold in Colorado early into the season, it's now changed as we saw earlier into the season, towards the end of the season, and just what we were told in the recruiting world a week ago up until the other day when it was early National Signing Day. Because Colorado ranked 99th in recruiting. With how much we talked about Colorado for the first 2 months of the college football season, and how many guys ended up flipping or how many guys ended up not going there, that's disappointing to be ranked 99th in recruiting. And Matthew Bedford, who was supposed to be a big coup for them in the transfer portal, he elected to go to Colorado, say he was going to Colorado, and then he flipped to Oregon. And right now, another big name for them as well, Jordan Seaton, it was looking like he was a lock. I think he was on Fox just like 2 weeks ago. I believe that was the kid that we were talking about, where he was on Fox just 2 weeks ago with Skip Bayless and Michael Irvin and whoever's on the new show now. You can't keep up with some of this stuff. And to be honest, I don't really watch the show anyway, but I just saw the clip. And he put on a Colorado hat, and he said he's going to Colorado. And now he did not commit to Colorado officially. And there's rumors that he's going to be going somewhere else. There's some rumors that he may be joining Dylan Raiola with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So Colorado will be better up front next year. You can't get worse. But the total turnaround that we thought was going to be coming from a week or two ago doesn't seem like they're going to get all those guys that they thought they were going to get. So I'll ask this simple question. Has the luster of Coach Prime fallen off? Has it worn off? Like, we'll still talk about Colorado next year. Coach Prime is always going to bring buzz, attention, and news. But is this going to be translated into wins? And even though they got 4 wins on the season, and going into the year, if you would have told me they got that, I would say, yeah, that's a successful season because that's what I expected. But them getting off to a 3-0 start, it's almost as if it hurt them because after that, they were never able to find that magic and get 3 more wins on the season. Because once you start off 3-0 and you're not even in October yet, you should be able to get to a bowl game. But they weren't able to. And before the year, I had no expectation of them going to a bowl game. But now in year number 2, I'm not going to sit here and be ridiculous and say with them going to the Big 12 that they need to be in the college football playoff even though it's expanding to 12 teams. Like, that's an insane argument. Anyone expecting that is crazy. But if they don't get a bowl game next year, to a bowl game, then I do believe that we're going to look at what Coach Prime is doing at Colorado. Sure, they made a ton of money. Sure, they got a lot of fans in the seats. Sure, he's brought more attention to that program that they've ever had in the last 20 years. But what is it turning out to be? And next year, I can't say without a doubt, even though they bring back Shador, they bring back Shiloh, they bring back Travis Hunter, who are 3 enormous players in the sport. Until I see what that offensive and defensive line looks like, I can't sit here and tell you I fully expect them to go to a bowl game. But if they don't go to a bowl game, what progress are you making? You know, there's ways to make progress financially, but on the field, I eventually need to see the results in terms of wins and losses. And they open up the season against North Dakota State. I think some people say, oh, that's a cupcake. They're not a cupcake. Then they're in Lincoln up against Nebraska, a team they beat last year. But look at the way that we talked about Nebraska after they lost to Colorado to where we talked about them now with the job Matt Rule has done on the recruiting trail. Then you're at Colorado State. You're at Arizona, who had a good season this year. You play Utah. You play Baylor. You play Oklahoma State. You play Kansas State, Cincinnati, at Kansas, at Texas, and then at UCF. And we don't have the dates of those schedules of those opponents other than the first 3. But that's the schedule. And without knowing what the offensive line looks like and how the offensive line is going to play and how they're going to get after the quarterback, I can't just say, yeah, they're going to get to 6 wins. Because even when they were leading games last year, they were not able to close them out. They had that enormous lead against Stanford. It was like 28-29-0 at one point. And they couldn't find a way to get it done. So Colorado took a big step last year. It didn't end the way that they wanted to. But now next year, I think we could have that conversation. You know, was this past year a success or was it a failure? And I do lean more successful. But it is disappointing. It does leave a sour taste in your mouth when you start 3-0 and you can't find a way to go to a bowl game. And I kind of related to Billy Napier, his first year at Florida. That first game with Anthony Richardson as quarterback, they played Utah. And I remember saying this to Hickey. I said, it's probably better if they have a close game and they lose. And this is with Florida, right, that has tradition and all of that. But you win that game, people are going to call you the savior. And they won that game, and then the rest of the season was pretty disappointing. And the rest of Billy Napier's tenure so far has been disappointing. So, yes, sometimes it's weird because you don't want to punt on wins. But sometimes when you win early, it takes the expectations to a level that turn out to just get too far away that you can't end up meeting. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Joe in Houston next up on CBS Sports Radio. Joe, what's happening?
Hey, man, thank you for taking my call. I'm listening to you, brother. You talking about Deion. Let me tell you, man, Deion, for what he came into, man, Deion, you got to give him a lot of credit, man.
When did I not give him credit? I'm a Deion fan.
I know. I mean, I'm just saying. But for one, I mean, you were insinuating. You were like, you know, can they win more? I mean, 4 wins. I mean, from what they came from. I mean,
it's an improvement. But when you start out 3-0, it does leave a bitter taste in your mouth.
Right, it does. And then another thing, too, with Deion in that situation right there, a lot of the time when I'm looking at the game, I'm just like, whoa, why are all these reps? I wouldn't have had all those distractions around my program. I know it was kind of trendy. They were trending and all that stuff like that. But me,
but that's what Deion brings. Like, Deion makes it an event. Deion makes it an attraction because that's the way that he knows how to do it. And it's worked out very well for him as a player and then also as a coach so far. That's you can't bring Deion in as your coach and then get annoyed at the hoopla and the excitement that comes with it.
I'm not saying I was annoyed, but I mean, it was just like me. I would have kind of toned it down a little bit. Now, going into the Big 12, I think they will win. I'm looking at probably about 7 or 8 games, maybe. And once he started getting those recruits in there, man, I think he's going to turn that program around. He's already brought a huge financial impact to the program. So, with that being said, I mean, it's just he can only go up from here.
If they get 7 or 8 wins next year, Joe, I think people would be doing cartwheels in the streets. Like, I can't do a cartwheel. I can't do a backflip. But you end up doing 7 or 8 wins next year, maybe we'll try to do cartwheels or something like that. And then I'll probably have to go to the hospital because I'll break my neck. 7 wins would be remarkable next year. First year in the Big 12. I know they played in a very tough Pac-12 this year. The Pac-12 is better than the Big 12. But 7 or 8 wins going to the Big 12 and to take that jump from 4 to 7 or 4 to 8, still not knowing what this offensive line would be, that would be remarkable. And I would love to see it, but I just don't expect it. I think if they just get to 6 next year, that would be a really damn good achievement. Zach Gelb here with you on CBS Sports Radio. We'll come on back with a Zach Gelb Show PSA on a Thursday. But first up with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here is El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, Saints and Rams enter tonight's clash, a 4-way tie for the final 2 wild card spots, while New Orleans also tied with the Bucs atop the NFC South. Now, obviously, this game has massive playoff implications. Is Matthew Stafford looking to finish off an unlikely run to the postseason?
I don't think anybody's satisfied at the moment, to be honest with you, and if you are, in the wrong place. There's a lot to be had, throughout the rest of the season, but we got to take it one game at a time. We understand that.
Well, Stafford hoping to help the Rams inch a little closer to a return to the playoffs with a victory tonight. Kickoff in L.A., 8:15. Tommy DeVito's story has taken a life of its own, and Tommy Cutlett's not about to let this opportunity slip. Giants rookie quarterback has reportedly filed 2 trademarks. Tommy Cutlets, of course, and Passing Paisano, as he will reportedly look to sell branded decals, clothing, pasta, pizza, tomato sauces, energy drinks, and more. DeVito's also going to try to snap the Giants' losing streak in Philadelphia on Christmas Day. They haven't won there since 2013. That's a 10-game losing streak. Bengals got some bad news. Jamar Chase will miss Saturday's pivotal game against the Steelers due to a shoulder injury. Pittsburgh expected to have Cam Hayward after he cleared concussion protocol, but Kenny Pickett was ruled out. Mason Rudolph will make the start. I'm Marco Belletti.
CBS Sports Radio's The Bart Winkler Show is your go-to December destination for the best sports talk on the radio. Don't forget, we're live 24/7 on social media, YouTube, Sirius XM Channel 158, and the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
Maybe the team I've been most impressed with this year in the NFL. It's the Baltimore Ravens. Going into the year, I thought the Ravens' apex would just be making the playoffs. But in 2 of the last 3 weeks, we've seen the Ravens go up against a very good Lions team and a very good Seahawks team. And neither of those games were close. And you have Lamar, who is dominant. They plug and play whoever they want at the running back position. That Ravens team is definitely a Super Bowl contender.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
This portion of the show is brought to you by NHTSA. Whether you get pulled over or get into a crash, drinking and driving will change your whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA. We'll get to a Zach Gelb Show PSA momentarily. But first, let me take Adrian in Maryland, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Yo, Adrian, what's happening, my man?
Yo, Zach, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing much.
My
Doing
thought
great.
on Deion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's my thought on Deion. Let's see. You know, all that bringing the stars to the game and all that stuff is fine and dandy, but that doesn't win games. Like I told the producer here, you got to recruit and develop linemen. You can't go to the portal and get those guys because those guys take 3 or 4 years to get going. You can go to the portal and get wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, defensive backs, but to be in the trenches and stuff and win the game in the trenches, you got to go recruit them, and then you got to develop them, which I don't think Deion can do that.
Well, I don't know if he can't do it because you've seen players, from Jackson State that had a lot of success under the tutelage of one Coach Prime. But I would agree with the point that Adrian made, and my preference would be the natural recruiting and getting guys in from high school and developing them in your program. But now in an era of the transfer portal where you get that one free transfer, if someone doesn't want to go along with your process and they don't think they're on the field as soon as they should be, or they get some tough coaching that's going to propel them to eventually become a good player in a year or two from now, and they don't like it, they could just get up and leave. So it is tough, but in an ideal way, I would still recruit naturally first and then use the transfer portal as an added benefit or as a bonus where, you need to go get a speedy wide receiver, you can. Some years you have a really good team and you just need a quarterback. Go get a quarterback in the transfer portal. So the transfer portal is good, but I think it should be used for a lot of coaches an added luxury, and still you're going to get most of your players and have most of your success with the players that you're bringing in and developing. But if you're a coach that's just using a school as a stepping stone and you only need minimal success to go get the next job, then maybe the transfer portal is more beneficial. All right, it is a Thursday. Let's get to a Zach Gelb Show PSA.
It's a Thursday. What do you have to say? It's the weekly Zach Gelb Show PSA.
Who's with me? Let's go! Come on! Hey!
All righty. My PSA is about asking etiquette. So it's very simple. We get a nice promotion around here. I get a nice promotion. I hear from people that some of them, I don't even know who they are. And they're like, oh, congratulations, Zach. So happy for you. You deserve this promotion. I'm like, oh, great. Thank you. Appreciate you reaching out. And then right away, there's a few people that go, hey, by the way, if you're hiring, I'm definitely interested. Or, oh, I would love to join the show in some capacity. The announcement isn't even 24 hours old yet. Can we just calm down a little bit? And then, this time of the year, I like to take care of the people that, help us out here at CBS Sports Radio. Whether it's behind the scenes in the digital world, whether it's the people that clean the office here. I'm taking our guys out tonight. We're having a nice show dinner. It's going to be fun. But then there's some people that I don't even know work in this office. And all of a sudden they come up to you and they're like, happy holidays. And you get that vibe that they're just kind of saying happy holidays to you to kind of hope that you end up giving them some holiday tip when you never encounter them. So I think there is an asking etiquette. And my PSA would be, if you're reaching out to someone to congratulate someone, or you want a Christmas tip or something, just be genuine about it. And you have to put some work in order to get what you want. When I haven't talked to you in 6 years and then you're begging me for a job or something like that, what the heck are we doing? I don't even know who you are. So that's my etiquette. It could sound a little bit douchey, but that's my PSA. I think there's some asking etiquette, and you need to know how to just play the game. All righty, Samter, what do you got?
Now, that makes sense. There's a lot of people around you. Listen, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I think a lot of people try to network, they just don't know how to.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
6 years going by is a little bit too long of a time before you can ask somebody something.
If I don't have your number saved and you just say, hey, what's up? And you expect me to know I'm like, who is this? I have to use that lame excuse of, oh, I got a new phone. Who is this when I haven't got a new phone in 3 years? I'm like, what are we doing here? It's just wild.
And even when you get a new phone, your numbers transfer over, so that doesn't even work anymore.
By the way, I need a new phone. So I have this case on my phone. I didn't realize the back. I took it off yesterday. Totally cracked the back of my phone. Look at Stu and Samter's face. Their jaw just dropped. I didn't even know that was a thing. I took my phone case off yesterday for some reason. And I looked at the back and I was like, oh my goodness gracious. The entire back of my phone is cracked.
Yeah, but though, as long as it doesn't impact performance, you might as well just stick with it, right? You got a case on it. You're not even going to notice it. You're not going to see it. It's not going to impact you in any way.
But now it annoys me mentally. All right, what's your PSA?
So my PSA has to do with just rude people when it comes to parking, right? When somebody's in a spot and you pull up and you're like, all right, well, this guy's about to get out of a spot, whether you're in a parking lot or on the street, and they see you pull up and they know that you're waiting for their spot. And they take their damn sweet-ass time to get out. It's like, listen, I understand you got stuff to do, but buckle that seatbelt, turn the ignition, and get the hell out so I can park the car. There's nothing more annoying than sitting there just waiting while someone's dilly-daddling, like checking their phone.
I'm one of those
calling
people.
somebody. Oh, it drives me crazy. And then sometimes you see the person who, like, they see you, they can tell you're getting impatient,
Yeah.
so they take longer intentionally because they want to piss you off. Drives me crazy. Get out of the spot.
So I'm not that person, but I still, like, whenever I'm driving and someone is, like, right up next to my car, I still do my routine as I would do. Make sure my music is ready to go, connected to Bluetooth, check my mirrors and all that. I'm not rushing just because you're rushing and you're making me feel uncomfortable.
You should. You should.
Well, we'll agree to disagree on that. Stu, what do you got?
My PSA is department stores. I guess this is sort of a me problem because I waited till last night to go to the mall to do a little last-minute Christmas shopping at night after the show.
So Stu forgot to get his girlfriend a gift.
No, I was with her. This is a few other. These are a few other bits and bobs.
Yeah.
But we are at a department store. It's getting close to when it's closing, around 10 o'clock, and there is a line of people, about 15 people deep, and there's only one singular register open in the whole department store that has 3 floors. I just how is that possible? We're paying so much for all this stuff we buy. Hire more people to work.
It's a great PSA. I was in my grocery store last night with the schedule change. Like, usually I would go during the day, but now I go after work. There was a line of 15 people at the grocery store. They have 4 registers. Only one person was working. And I'm not someone, when I go to the grocery store, I don't take a shopping cart. I don't take one of those bins. I just think I could hold everything. So I'm standing there with my blueberries, my strawberries, my protein powder. I have the chicken sausage, the couscous,
That's
the
on
eggs.
you, man. What grocery store are you at that doesn't have like a self-checkout lane or a mobile checkout lane?
Yeah, well, people don't like my grocery store choice. I go to Gristedes. People, they go, how do you not go to Whole Foods? How do you not go to Trader Joe's? Because that's, I guess, an old person grocery store. Gristedes works well for me. Just I wasn't happy with the lack of customer service.
By the way, real quick, a great last-second gift if you have no time left. Next day or same day CVS photo printing. You can get a bunch of really cool personalized stuff in 24 hours notice.
Danny Kanell joins us next. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Coming up an hour from now, Kalen DeBoer, the head football coach of the Washington Huskies, will join us. But first up, former NFL and college quarterback, and someone when you hear Florida State, you think of him. And that, of course, is Danny Kanell, CBS Sports HQ, also Sirius XM. And make sure you check out BetOnline for updated college football championship and bowl game lines. Danny Kanell, always appreciate the time. How are you?
I'm great, Zach. What's going on, man? It's great to be on with you again. I think the last time I talked to you, I was sitting outside the shoe before Ohio State, Penn State. But it's good to be back on, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Let me start you off with Florida State because I haven't talked to you since they were left out of the college football playoff. I know that you wanted them in, but you tell me why they should have got in over, let's say, an Alabama or Texas, whoever you wanted to leave out.
I think it's pretty simple. They won every game, right? I mean, it's just undefeated in a Power 5 conference, which wins against LSU by a greater margin than Alabama beat LSU. They beat LSU on a neutral field. Bama beat them in their own backyard. They've got a win over Clemson, who finished 8-4. They've got a win over Florida on the road with a backup quarterback and an ACC championship game over a top 15 Louisville team. Like, the resume to me stacks up. Here's the problem I have with it, Zach. It's just, and the committee was pretty forthright, right? First of all, the invitational, we'll call it, it's not really a playoff, is designed to basically exclude a worthy candidate. And that's what Florida State is. And unfortunately for my alma mater, it's the most egregious example of somebody being wronged that should have had an opportunity. It's not the first time, but it sure is the most egregious with a Power 5 team running the table. And the committee said, we didn't think they were as competitive without Jordan Travis. We didn't think they could compete for a national championship. And I would strongly push back against that. There is a laundry list of teams in college and the NFL that have won with backup quarterbacks when you get other areas of the team, that play better, just like Florida State's defense did. So I think it's garbage. I think it's a team sport, the greatest team sport we made. I think the committee made a mistake, but there's really no wrong answer for them because of the way this thing is designed.
Well, let me just ask you this then. And I know this is not the way that it works. You have to base off what you did, not what you're going to project in the future. But let's say they put Florida State in over Alabama, and it was Michigan going up against Florida State in a few weeks in the Rose Bowl. How do you think that game would have played out?
Florida State probably would have been a 13-point underdog. But I think Florida State actually stacks up pretty well against Michigan because their offense hasn't been lighting up people either. I think it would have been a defensive, lower scoring game, might have not been the most compelling TV product. But in that type of situation, I think Florida State could have gone toe-to-toe with them. And I think they might have been able to have that defense, rally, shut down Michigan's offense, which did struggle against Iowa's defense, which is a great top-tier defense, but so is Florida State. So I think they could have gone toe-to-toe with them. But I guarantee you, Zach, that's the conversation that unfolded in the committee room was, well, how do you think this game plays out? And the minute I started to get nervous was when Florida State was playing the ACC championship game and the offense looked putrid. I mean, there's no other way around it. The offense looked atrocious with a third-string quarterback, and it was the whole night. It wasn't like, halftime they got it going. It was down to the wire. The offense never looked good. And I think the committee members were thinking about the matchups and the TV product, and are we really going to send that team to compete for a national championship, which the problem I have with that is, did anybody watch Alabama versus Auburn 1 week before they beat Georgia? Like, you could get that version of Bama against Michigan, and it could be ugly for them too. But the committee made their decision. It's what we got to go by, and it's just a tough pill to swallow. It's always going to be. I'll tell you, those players I feel gutted for on Florida State because they'll be sitting around in 20, 30 years at their reunion saying, I can't believe we didn't get a chance. And they felt robbed, and I think deservedly so.
And I'm going to preface what I'm going to say next, Danny Kanell, where when I say it, I know it kind of doesn't make sense, but I keep on saying it. Like, I do think Florida State got screwed, but on the other hand, I can't really disagree with what the committee did because any of the 4 teams in the playoff this year can win it, and we've not been able to say that each and every year when you look at these 4 teams. Ultimately, I think what it came down to was Alabama. Like, we all knew they weren't keeping out a one-loss SEC champion, and because Texas beat Alabama back in week 2 by 10 in Tuscaloosa, you needed to put Texas in, and that ultimately cost Florida State, in my opinion.
Oh, agreed. I think you're spot on. And, for Florida State fans that are upset, they're mad at Kirk Herbstreit, they're mad at Bill Hancock, they're mad at everybody because they got left off. Be mad at the system. And that's one thing I have remained true. I have not been okay with the system since day one. I thought it was better. The 4 team was better than the BCF, just like the BCS, just like I think the 12 team will be better than the 4 team, but it's an imperfect system. It was designed to create controversy. We were sold that that's good. The debate, the fact that somebody's going to be on the cusp and somebody's going to be left out is a good thing. And I have maintained the whole time, probably most vocally when 2017, when UCF, a group of 5 team, got left out that was undefeated, yet they had multiple wins against Power 5 programs. I said, hold on, this feels wrong. And ironically, that year, Bama backdoored their way in, didn't win their division, but ended up winning the national championship. And UCF beat the team that beat Alabama in Auburn. So there's always been a team that's been left out. Just like I said, unfortunately, the last year of its existence, it happened to be Florida State. And the good news is next year, I think we'll get, a better playoff, which hopefully we'll get, everyone that's deserving will get left in. Let me flip it on you. Because I was having this conversation the other night, Zach. If it was the 12-team playoff this year, do you think Florida State would have been given the 4? Do you think that because you still could have had Alabama in, you have Georgia in, you've got everybody in, do you think they would have rewarded Florida State go undefeated?
Yeah.
Or do you think they would have?
I think they would have. It was that they could, because look at this. You're telling me Florida State's not better than Alabama, but then they're better than Georgia. And don't get me wrong. I think Georgia's better than Florida State, but even in the argument of 4, it didn't really make sense, and it was okay. We know we have to find Bama landing spot, but it doesn't really matter where we put the landing spot of Georgia, so let's put Florida State in front of Georgia.
Right. I think so, too. I think you're spot on with that one. So I think that's how it would have unfolded. And, if you truly went with the best teams, I'm using air quotes, because we were talking lines before who had been favored, the 4 probably should have been in any order, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, and Georgia. Like those are the 4 biggest powerhouses, best teams in the country. If you went by rosters, 4- and 5-star makeup, but like at some point you do have to honor what unfolded on the field. And that's where I think Florida State got the raw deal because they kind of ignored that.
The only one I disagree with out of those 4 is Ohio State. And I was someone all throughout the year that I thought Ohio State was overrated. I thought they were lucky to beat Notre Dame. McCord should have thrown that pick, and then Marcus Freeman didn't have enough guys on the field at the end of the game. And ultimately, you saw it up against Michigan. You know, it shows you why Michigan's better than Notre Dame. They find the way to make those interceptions when McCord is giving you the football. I thought the quarterback for Ohio State was what's going to derail their season and made them just a good team, not a great team.
Yeah, and I guess good news if you're a Buckeye fan, Kyle McCord is now a Syracuse member of the Syracuse Orange, so he doesn't have. So they don't have to. They're going to be looking for a new quarterback.
Yes and no, but I thought they would land like DJ Uiagalelei or Cam Ward. I don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback for them next year. They may be begging for McCord to come back to Ohio State next year.
Yeah, and it might be a 1-game audition for Devin Brown, the freshman who played a little bit this past year, got hurt. He's expected to play in this bowl game, and maybe that's what they makes their decision. If he balls out, they're like, we're good. We've got some young signees that we've got. But if he struggles, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the market because some of these quarterbacks haven't made their decision yet. They're kind of waiting and holding out for bigger paydays, and that could be a school that gets a little desperate after the bowl game and says, hey, we'll do whatever it takes.
The other thing I want to bring up, Danny Kanell, because I could see it now. Like, I don't fault Jared Verse for skipping the bowl game. It's like this bowl game, it really means nothing when you had college football playoff aspirations, and it's so deflating with that feeling. But I could, like Georgia, if they destroy Florida State, I don't think that should be justifying the argument of the committee on why they left them out too.
Oh, but it will be used. It'll be
100%.
Like Florida State's in a no-win situation because if they beat Georgia, and they're a 2-touchdown underdog, that line's probably going to move up as the more Florida State players opt out.
People are going to say, but Georgia wasn't trying because it was national championship or bust for them.
Exactly. And if Florida State gets beat, then they're going to say, see, you didn't belong. They really are in a no-win situation. And Mike Norvell, he spoke for the first time on signing day yesterday.
Love Norvell.
Oh, me too. And he said this is the hardest 2 weeks he's ever faced as a coach. And I believe him because he's been trying to keep guys' morale up, trying to keep guys wanting to play. And when the committee says to you, you're not good enough, we don't think you can compete for a national championship, well, then why should we compete for anything if you don't think we're any good? And I think that's probably the mindset that the players have. Why should I stick around and play in a meaningless bowl game, which I do think the bowl system itself is broken because of the college football calendar. And I think the only solution is to move bowl games to week 0. And if it's a playoff game, make it in post regular season, post championship weekend. Any other bowl game, I think the only solution is put it week 0. Otherwise, we're going to see these opt-outs continue. 400 plus players, Zach, have opted out or transfer portaled out or opted out to prepare for the NFL draft. 400 players. That is a massive problem for college football. I mean, and that's all I do is prepare for these games. I can't even tell you who's playing half the positions at different teams. Like tonight's the Boca Bowl. I'm actually going to the game. I'm in South Florida.
I've been there Syracuse. Once. My Owls lost in the Boca Bowl. I've been there. It's a good stadium.
Right? It's a great little bowl. It's great. It's fun. Syracuse is playing South Florida.
Yeah.
Half of both. And these are two teams that are 6-6. Like they're like sometimes you think that's a reward. They get to come to South Florida. Both teams have like double-digit players have entered the transfer portal. So you're getting kind of who's playing, I don't know, and who wants to be there is the question we keep asking. I want to put them in week 0 so they matter. Like they could impact your chance to make the playoff, make your chance to win a conference championship. So I think that's the only solution.
So what you're saying is move it to week 0 and then have that game count for the next season schedule? Like on their record? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So and it like just have, and then the only hiccup in that one is like bowls are a reward for a successful season. That's what I've always been told. But the players are telling you they don't care. Like they're saying it's not a reward. I don't know if to play in the game. So if you are 7, if you get 6 wins, then you would set the schedule for the following season. The week 0 would be your reward. You come to, now it'd be a lot hotter in Boca in August, but you would come to Boca for a few days, and week 0 is growing exponentially. Like I remember the first week 0 was like 2 games. Then it went to 5. Then the TV networks are like, oh, wait, we can put games here. Now it's like 15. Make it the bowl, kind of bowl weekend, week 0. It's kind of empty. and then it matters, and you'll have full participation.
It's an interesting idea because I do think in a 4-team format, these bowl games are irrelevant. Now, when we go to 12, they're even going to become more relevant. Now, let me be clear, Danny Kanell, I hate going to 12. Like 6 or 8, I'm fine with. Going to 12, I think it takes away. What makes college football better than so many other sports is every regular season game matters. And we talk about those soft landing spots. Now you could go be an SEC team or a Big Ten team. You lose 2-3 games like Ohio State, Michigan, whoever loses, they're still going to find a way to get into the playoff, and it takes away from those great regular season games.
I totally hear your argument. I think 8 was the perfect number. 12 kind of came out of nowhere, right? I mean, that was the
and it's going to get worse because they're going to go from 12 only north of that in the future.
Probably, you're probably right. I hope they get to a place where we can do away with committees. Like, don't select them. Just come up with a true playoff where it's division win. Like the NFL model, we're the minor league NFL. Let's do it. I do think there are some protections, like the bye for the top 4 teams. Like those losses could hurt you where you lose a bye to get healthy, or you get to either host a home game, if you're seeding 5 through 8, and then you'd have to go on the road. So there will be some penalty. I think what's really going to be weird are the rematches that take place. Like we already see Ohio State, Michigan, final game of the regular season. They're doing away with divisions in the Big Ten. You could see a rematch of that game a week later. And if they're undefeated the first time, you could see them meet again. Like that to me is probably the biggest issue that I'm kind of worried about. Hopefully they can fix the bracket so that they don't face again. But if they both win, you can't really prevent that from happening. But it's more of a wait and see for me, but I totally understand what you're thinking. I still believe that there's enough teams at 130, and the reality is that only 40, can get to the playoffs, not win, get to the playoffs. I still think only about 12 can actually win the national championship. But I do think that the hope that it brings, those 40 programs, will bring added value to the regular season deeper. Like the month of November will mean that much more because teams are still in the playoff race.
What do you hope happens with Florida State, whether it's realistic or not, moving forward with their search to potentially join a new conference?
I wish they could salvage the ACC. I mean, my freshman year at Florida State was the first year in the conference, but it just seems unsustainable, untenable. All the reasons that Florida State has laid out are valid. I'll say this, full disclosure, I'm tired of all the talk and the meetings and the saber rattling and the threats. Just bring some action. If you're gonna get out, start the legal process, sue the league, which I think that's what this meeting tomorrow is going to be about. I think they're going to approve that, and they're going to start to sue their way out of the ACC. The Big Ten or SEC is where you want to be. Those are the super conferences. They hold the keys to the future of college football. I think the SEC is clearly a better fit regionally, rivalry-wise. We already play Florida. We've already played LSU. Like there's been some natural rivalries just regionally. The Big Ten feels a little bit clunky. It doesn't feel like the best fit. But if the SEC says we're good, we already have the Florida Gators in the state, sign me up to play Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington. But that's where the future of college football is headed, are these two super conferences. And if Florida State wants to stay, where I think they belong at the upper echelon, they need to find a spot in one of these leagues.
And I think a big misconception that people have, Danny Kanell, last thing I'll bring up to you, and yeah, Florida State's a big enough brand to be in the Big Ten or the SEC, but I think a lot of people believe that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to keep on just adding a lot of schools. Like that's the exclusive part of college football and college sports, the Big Ten and the SEC. And when I look around teams that aren't in the Big Ten and the SEC, there's not a lot of attractive brands that are still remaining, especially in college football.
Right. And that's the leverage that Florida State is trying to use between those two leagues, because Clemson and Florida State and Notre Dame is the golden goose, right? Yeah. And that feels like the Big Ten. That just needs to happen. But outside of Notre Dame, it feels like Florida State and Clemson, two best brands available. I do think they're somewhat attached to the hip. So if Florida State can push their way out, I do think there's probably some deal with those two together. And then it's, all right, you go to the SEC and say, you really want to let us go to the Big Ten? Like these two valuable playoff-worthy teams are going to let them go and to Fox, which is there's a competitive nature there. And ultimately, when it's all said and done, I don't know what Greg Sankey and the SEC will decide to do, but I think they bring too much value where you would turn them down. But then it's like gets really crowded. I still think I am worried about this, because I think, and when these current TV deals that start next year, so in about 6 years, like 2030, we lost, like Pac-12, Washington State, Oregon State kind of died, right? The Pac-12 was blown up.
Yeah.
Washington State, Oregon State left out. I do wonder if there's another cycle where some of the bottom dwellers in the Big Ten and the SEC are left behind to make room for Florida State, Clemson, maybe Miami, maybe some other programs in the ACC that are better brands than some of the bottom dwellers in the SEC and Big Ten. I'm just curious. I hate that it's going to happen, but I feel like it will.
Do you think Miami's still attractive to either the Big Ten or the SEC? Are they still an attractive brand?
I think Florida, the state of Florida, is attractive to the Big Ten. And I think academically, Miami's probably more attractive than Florida State. I think they're probably a better fit. But that doesn't – I mean, Florida State is trying to do things academically, perception-wise, like become an AAU school so that they are perceived stronger academically. Hey, I think they're the Harvard of the South. I think it's a great school. But the reality is they're not one of the top schools ranking-wise. So they're trying to change that perception so that they bring more value to the Big Ten, because that seems to be a priority for them, even more so than football.
You can check out Bet Online for updated college football championship and bowl game lines. Danny Kanell, before we let you run, I have to ask you about Colorado. What do you think the future is for Coach Prime, and how do you think we'll be talking about them a year from now?
Do you mean Colorado, the 99th ranked recruiting class of 2024? I mean, that was pretty astounding. It's shocking. Like, I'm a little bit concerned about him, but Deion Sanders has made it clear, I'm going to do this through the portal, and they're getting veteran players. It's a unique, tactic to take. But as long as he's got Shador, and they brought in 4 offensive linemen, they're still waiting on the 5th, the kid who kind of switched and flipped his commitment, who was on just 2 weeks ago on FS1 with Skip Bayless, professing his commitment to Colorado. Now it's up in the air. If they can shore him up, and they can protect Shador, and they're in the Big 12, which will be easier to win than the Pac-12, I think they should be better. And I think it's good. Like, I think it's a great story for college football. I also think there's a high, it's going to be one of those boom or bust situations. Like in this year, you saw both of it. I think next year could be the same. If they can keep it on track and keep their eyes focused and not get distracted by game day and big noon kickoff and celebrities, they could make a run for the Big 12 championship.
Wow.
But if they face adversity and they start to get distracted and you see infighting and they're worried about talking and putting out Instagram videos and hype videos, then I could see them being 6-6. So, there's a wide gap of what they possibly could be. But I guarantee you this, everybody's going to be watching, just like last year.
He is Danny Kanell. Danny, always great to catch up with you. Thanks for the time.
You got it, Zach. Have a great holiday season.
You got it. There he is, Danny Kanell, joining us on CBS Sports Radio. And if Coach Prime is watching, I am a believer. Just clarifying that. I'm a big-time fan of Coach Prime, and he can come back on the show anytime he wants. Always love my conversations with Coach Prime and also Danny Kanell. Once again, you can check out Bet Online for updated college football championship and bowl game lines. And they were the ones that were bringing Danny Kanell to us. We'll take a break. We'll come on back when we do return. How many attractive brands are there still in college sports and also college football?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio.
And that's what Draymond Green is. On the basketball court, he is a jerk. And he takes things way too far. And this is not just a one-off. Now you're dealing with just multiple instances that roll right up the tip of the tongue. And there's about, 15 or 16 that we could further go down this road of showing you why Draymond Green has totally crossed the line.
Here's Zach Gelb.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. We have a reporter-agent fight right now. And I'm here with a big tub of popcorn, and my fingers is getting all covered in butter, and I'm eating up this feud, this war that I'm seeing right now on social media. So Josina Anderson, longtime NFL reporter, tweeted out, "I'm told personnel around the league are discussing their awareness that some owners have been told that Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson's asking price is at least or around $15 million a year for a head coach job per source. Now, the immediate reaction would be $15 million a year for a guy who's never been a head coach. And yeah, he's done a nice job in Detroit. That would be an astronomical price tag for a first-time head coach. But Richmond Flowers, who's the agent for Ben Johnson, he quote tweeted Josina Anderson's tweet. And he said, I'm told personnel around the league are discussing their awareness that there is no asking price or demand, and this tweet is 100% false and irresponsible reporting per source. Now, that's a pretty big-time shutdown there by Mr. Flowers. So here's my interpretation of this. I do think that there's some truth to this report, but I think this report is generated towards one team. Remember, last year, Ben Johnson was extremely coveted by the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers wanted Ben Johnson in the worst way. And I think if memory serves me right, he did the first interview and then he took his name out when they were ready to give him a second interview and they were planning. The momentum was feeling that Ben Johnson was going to get the Carolina Panthers job. We all know the money that David Tepper has. And when it's for a player, there's a salary cap. But there's no salary cap for coaching. So what I think is happening here is Ben Johnson, a year later, still doesn't want to go to Carolina. He'll have better options than Carolina. But he's basically saying or making it known, I want $15 million a year because he knows there's only one owner that would be crazy enough to pay a first-time head coach who's the offensive coordinator for the Lions $15 million a year to get their guy, and that would be David Tepper. Because I have never had these conversations, but I could only imagine you telling a billionaire no or I don't want to go to where you want me to go usually doesn't end well for the person saying no. Where it may end up because he's going to get paid a ridiculous amount of money. But if his intention isn't to go to Carolina, well, he's basically challenging the owner of the Panthers. How much are you going to pay me? So it does end up working out well for him, for me to actually take the job. That's the way that I interpret this, Samter. I don't think Ben Johnson still wants to go to Carolina. He knows he probably has 2 or 3 other jobs in his back pocket already that he would take less money and go to. And I don't know, like what? Probably like $7, $6, $8 million, anywhere in that range if he goes to those other jobs. But he's basically dangling the carrot out there. Hey, Mr. Tepper, I didn't want you last year. You still want me. I know you're desperate. You really want me? Then go pay me a ridiculous price tag to go get me.
I mean, if there is somebody who would pay the ridiculous price tag, it is David Tepper. But I just look at the wording of the quote, and I love Josina. But I'm told personnel around the league are discussing their awareness that some owners have been told per source. Like, it's like hemming and hawing. It's like so an owner may have told another owner that a source told a source that a guy may have talked to another guy that we're aware that we're possibly going to discuss that maybe Ben Johnson may have said this to an owner. It's like, okay, listen, if it's true, it's true. There's no chance he's going to get it. And if Carolina is the way he's going to go and he's trying to dangle it, fine. But
there's a chance from Carolina he gets it. That's about it.
No, I still don't think so.
Well, here's why.
Like, as much as David Tepper might want Ben Johnson, I don't think after firing 2 coaches and having to pay them whatever he's going to pay them, off of firing them, I don't think he's going to shell $15 million for a guy who's never coached before.
Well, 2 things. Number one, David Tepper has showed before he's willing to go above and beyond what other owners are going to do.
But he may have learned a lesson.
Wait, no, hold on. Let me finish. Matt Rule was supposed to go get on a flight and go to New York with the Giants to interview there. David Tepper, for a first-time NFL head coach, gave him, like $70 million? And then after 2 years and 4 or 5 games, he got rid of him. And then the other part here, too, is that I don't think David Tepper, in this elite circle of NFL owners where a lot of owners care what the other owners think about them, and sometimes you don't do things like giving Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract because you know it's going to mess up the system or it's going to annoy the other owners. but there's always one owner that operates rogue. Look at the Haslam family. They did that with Deshaun Watson. And I think David Tepper in the coaching cycle would operate on his own. And I almost gave the middle finger on the YouTube camera, and I prevented myself from doing that. When I say give the middle finger, and then usually give the middle finger when you say that. But it wouldn't surprise me if Tepper gives the middle finger to the rest of the owners and go, I need to get this right. I believe in this guy. I've now believed in this guy for 2 years. So you really don't want me? And you're going to go to, I don't know, the Commanders for 6 or 7? Well, I'll make sure to give you an offer that you can't refuse the $15 million. I think this is, whether it's true or not, the fact that this is getting talked about, man, maybe it could be owner-driven, where they're like, oh, we know Tepper's desperate, so let's just dangle out this to Josina that, hey, he's asking for $50 million, and if Tepper thinks that's the price tag to go get his guy, he'll be willing to pay it. There is no doubt about that in my mind. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll get back into the brand conversation in college football coming up later in the show. How many brands outside of, for teams that are not in the Big Ten of the SEC are still attractive? Kalen DeBoer is going to join us coming up in about 30 minutes from now, the head football coach of the Washington Huskies. But let's take a break, and when we come on back, we'll update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We call that segment the News Brief. First up, standing by with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here is El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, Zach, monster game for Thursday Night Football. You got the Saints and Rams in L.A. Both teams coming in at 7-7, part of a 4-way tie for the final 2 playoff spots. Derek Carr coming off a near flawless performance against the Giants, but he knows won't be an easy task staring across the line of scrimmage at Aaron Donald.
I think that's just the ultimate sign of respect, that not only physically is he dominant, but mentally he's just so smart and can understand things that you got to be ready for that.
Flip side, Matthew Stafford has helped lift the Rams back into playoff contention in what was expected to be another down year.
You can't say enough about how he has truly elevated everybody that he's around, and there's such a belief and a confidence that with him at the switch, you always feel like good things are going to happen for us.
Head coach Sean McVay, kickoff in L.A., 8:15 Eastern. Elsewhere, Steelers defensive lineman Cam Hayward, clear concussion protocol, expected to play in the pivotal game against the Bengals Saturday. However, Kenny Pickett was ruled out, so Mason Rudolph gets the nod. Cincinnati won't have Jamar Chase. He was ruled out with a shoulder injury. And Florida State has called a special Board of Trustees meeting for Friday morning. Unclear if this would be to challenge the grant of rights in order to leave the ACC. I'm Marco Belletti.
CBS Sports Radio is turning up the heat this December. From the NFL playoff push, bowl games, and coast-to-coast action from the NBA hardcourt to the college game, we've got you covered.
CBS Sports Radio.
'You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio.
Baker today deserves his flowers. He deserves his respect. And I'm not telling you Baker is this great elite quarterback, but I don't think Baker Mayfield is this bum. That was my part of the final year in Cleveland. It didn't mean he was going to fall off a cliff. And everyone wrote off the Bucs before the start of the season because they didn't have Tom Brady anymore. But Tampa Bay, they have everything right there for the taking.
Here's Zach Gelb.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We'll get to a news brief in a second, but I have a problem that I just discovered during the break. So I sent one of our coworkers a Starbucks gift card for the holidays. I know the person's a big coffee drinker. And I texted this person, hey, I sent you a gift card. Let me know if you don't get it. Now, I just got back-to-back emails from Starbucks. First email is, congratulations, your gift card has been delivered. And then 30 seconds later, I get an email saying, unfortunately, your gift card is not able to get delivered. So I go to my credit card statement, and because it just happened, it's still pending. And then I texted that person, did you get the gift card? They said no. So what do I do in this scenario? Like, do I just assume that that person is being a good person and telling me he didn't get the gift card to try to not finagle 2 gift cards out of me? Or do I just resend the gift card and just hope that the first one actually didn't go true? Because that's the confusing part to me, Stu and Samter, is they send me the email saying it got delivered, and then 30 seconds later I get this email that it's not delivered.
Yeah, it seems like it can't be both ways, right? Like that's a conundrum. I don't know. I would kind of wait and probably give the person the gift card, another one.
Okay.
And then hope it cancels.
if both goes through, then call my credit card company.
Yeah, dispute the first one if they both go through.
Okay, so that's what I'll end up doing. But I was looking at that because at first I was like, oh, maybe I'll wait. But then once it gets past Christmas, then I know you people, right? Once it gets past Christmas and the holiday season, people still say happy holidays for like 4 weeks after that, which is ridiculous in its own right. But I feel as if you got to get the gifts in my opinion, before Christmas when it comes to company gifts, or else it feels a little disingenuous. But anyway, that's a personal problem. All right, let's update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, let's start off with Mike McDaniel. Samter was telling me about this speech yesterday from Hard Knocks, and today it's blowing up and it's going viral. Here is what Samter says is an awesome speech that Mike McDaniel gave to his team.
I know who's in this room, so we're going to hit this, and if it's brutal, yeah, bring that. Let's just look at it straight in the eyes. It's pretty simple. We lost the game up for 15 different reasons. And I have my hand fully in that trash plan on my part. Yeah, I called some trash plays. That will happen. Just like you'll have bad plays. You know what makes me a man? Is that I don't blink at that nor do I avoid it. I'm going to learn from that. You don't get mad. You don't get sad. That okay? We learn lessons.
There's one coach that he sounds like. You guys want to take a guess? There is a college coach, and I've never thought about this until I just heard that audio, that Mike McDaniel sounds like. Stu, you want to take a guess? Just a college coach that he sounds like.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Mark Stoops.
All righty, not no. Mark Stoops. Samter.
Ryan Day.
No, it is not crying Ryan. He wouldn't have that much emotion. He would just be crying. It's actually Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. When he did,
yeah.
You know, I'm a man. I'm 40. That kind of sounded a little bit like Mike McDaniel there. And that's one of my favorite, and I mean favorite speeches and rants I've ever heard from a coach. The other one was Dan Hawkins, I think, when he was at Colorado. And he was like, it's Division I football. Go play intramurals, brother. Go play intramurals. You got 2 weeks off for this vacation, 2 weeks off for that one, another week for this. That's more vacation than you guys get. Oh, that was a great speech. Hawkins and Mike Gundy, two of my favorite speeches or outbursts from a college football coach ever. McDaniel has grown on me. He's an acquired taste, and now I'm starting to understand him. At first, I just thought, man, this guy makes absolutely zero sense, and I'll never connect with this guy. But he's genuine, and he puts the losses on him, and he turns on the tape and basically goes, there's 15 reasons why we lost this game, and it's all on me. I got my hands on them. And I think as a player, when you get caught up in a bad loss like that, and it feels as if the ship is about to sink, when a coach takes all the ownership on him and actually provides some levity, it's easier to accept the criticism than move on and give you a great effort the next week, which they did up against the Jets. Here is Nick Sirianni on the mindset on the deep ball on the final play where Jalen Hurts was airing the ball out, and it eventually got intercepted for the second time by Julian Love.
At times there, you can get a pass interference there. If you get a pass interference call there, and if a team's giving you a one-on-one shot, and you can get a pass interference, and now you're in position to kick it. So there's times where you're going to be able to, you're going to do that. And we felt like in that situation we had an opportunity to. Hey, it didn't work out that particular time.
So it would be one thing if there was 3 seconds left in the game and you said, okay, we are, like, let's say you weren't 70 yards away, but let's say you were 70 yards away, that we'll just toss the ball up deep instead of doing like a hook and lateral play, and we'll just hope to get a pass interference to get you in field goal range to kick the field goal. That'd be one thing. But you just had a big run by Jalen Hurts. You're down at the 45. You just need like 20 more yards. And you got to go short there, and you have a great field goal kicker in Jake Elliott. To try to hope for a penalty in that spot doesn't really make sense. Here is Antonio Pierce. The Raiders play the Chiefs once again this weekend, and the last time these two teams met up, Raiders had a good start. They were up like 14-0. Josh Jacobs had a touchdown, and the Chiefs were the Chiefs, and the Raiders were the Raiders, and the Chiefs ended up winning the game. Here is Antonio Pierce on how you stop the Chiefs and their trick plays.
Can't. He's got a million of them. Every time you think you've seen one, you've seen it all, here comes another one. And they're creative. They have fun doing it. That's good. But obviously, at the end of the day, you got to do your job, right? So if they don't run it in, here comes the gadgets. You know, we saw the ring around the rosy deal they did last year. All fun and games. Cool. But at some point, the best way to stop a trick play is do what? Hit it in the mouth.
More and more I hear Antonio Pierce speak, my comp for him is Dan Campbell. And I've said that before. But he is Dan Campbell for what Dan Campbell is to the Lions, what Antonio Pierce is to the Raiders. And that is just, we're going to physically beat you up. We're going to smack you in the mouth. We're going to bite off your kneecaps. And that could galvanize a locker room when you have a former player who's not that far removed from playing, connecting with younger players now in the NFL. But I don't care if the Raiders punch the Chiefs in the mouth. I still don't think it's going to be enough to go get a victory. Here is Dave Doran. This is going back to November 26th. This is right after UNC lost to NC State. NC State won 39-20. This is Dave Doran in the locker room after the game.
Hey, you know, it's been 1,460 days since those pieces of beat us.
So he called them pieces of bleep, UNC. Now, Mac Brown yesterday, even though these comments happened on November 25th, November 26th, he went off on Dave Doran for his comments.
The head coach of that school called our players a piece of shit. But I've never heard something like that before, and I'm disappointed. I thought it was classless. It's not true. But you don't call kids a piece of shit. And from me speaking for them and their parents, they really didn't appreciate being called a piece of shit. Never heard that before. And very, very disappointing.
So that North Carolina, so that video, I guess why it was brought up yesterday, is North Carolina, that was their final game of the season, North Carolina, NC State. And then you go into the bowl season, availability not that much, then you have all the recruiting. So yesterday, Mac Brown probably made available because of signing day, and he finally got asked about that, I guess. Because at first I was like, man, it's bizarre to bring it up that much later. But if it's asked, hey, you got to give an answer to the question. This is Dave Doran then apologizing for his comments. This also from yesterday.
I did call Coach and apologize because I could have used a lot of different words, obviously. He caught me in a heat of a moment situation in the locker room celebrating a huge win, and I was fired up about how we played. But I have respect for Coach, and you know, so last thing I wanted was for him to feel that. And again, it's not an excuse, but it shouldn't have been on TV. And I think there's 1,000 coaches out there would tell you that if we had to apologize for everything we said in the locker room, we'd probably spend a lot of time doing that.
Well, that's the thing, too. And I know this may sound lame for my part, but I'm going to say it. If I was a college football coach, I'm not allowing any cameras in the locker room unless they are team-issued cameras. Like, I'm not allowing players to FaceTime or to go on Instagram Live or FaceTime, because some of those locker room moments, you wouldn't, even though you shouldn't operate this way, but you fire up a football team and you're connecting to your players, you say things in the heat of the moment, and then they get out and it makes the coach look bad, where I guarantee you that this isn't the first time a coach has said something badly about another team just fired up after a win. Like, I don't think Dave Doran actually thinks the UNC players are pieces of bleep. He's just saying that, like, to connect with his players and do something like that. So, and I don't even like Dave Doran. I'm not a fan of Dave Doran. Out of all the coaches I've interviewed in college football, I remember when he beat Clemson. Oh, he was a terrible, boring interview. So, like, I'm not a fan of really Dave Doran, but I can't crush him for this one. But, like, if I'm a college coach, I'm not allowing TV cameras in the locker room. Like, people ripped Dan Lanning for the speech that he gave, which was basically nothing. He was like, talk with your helmet, hit Colorado, and people freaked out about that. And to allow TV cameras in the locker room, right, it's just the sacred locker room, I think it's a little bit ridiculous.
The one thing, so Doran actually went on later on and went on a rant saying that they normally have to have approval and get asked permission to have cameras in there, and nobody asked for permission, and there was no approval given, so he wasn't expecting there to be TV cameras. So I think that's part of it also. He's like, if I knew there was a camera there, I wouldn't have said that, but we didn't approve having cameras in there. We didn't want a camera in there, so that's why he was upset.
Gotcha.
And he went on a whole rant about it. But still, to your point, also be aware. Like, even if you didn't approve it, look around before you start saying stuff.
Yeah, but you're fired up after when you come running your lock. I can't trash the coach for that one. So Micah Shrewsbury had a great season last year at Penn State. Now he's the head basketball coach at Notre Dame. His team struggling, and Micah Shrewsbury rips his Notre Dame team.
We're building a culture, and that ain't it. That is not the culture we're trying to build. So a message needs to be sent to some of these guys that, like, if you don't play hard, then you can sit and rot over there on the bench, and I'll find a way. I'll go and talk to the people in compliance. I will help you transfer. Because this culture is getting built the right way, and if you ain't a part of it, you're out. And I don't care.
Wow. How about that? Now, recently they lost to Marquette, who's ranked top 10 in the country. They just lost to Georgetown in overtime. And I saw Ed Cooley was like lecturing the media afterwards how we need to praise Micah Shrewsbury. And I thought, like, I didn't watch the game. I just thought, oh, Notre Dame won based off that comment. But they ended up losing to Georgetown in overtime, and they just lost to the Citadel, 65-45. So he's not happy with his team's effort or lack of it. And when you're building a program, sometimes you have to talk through the media, where if you're just shredding your teams behind the scenes and it's not working, then sometimes you have to blast them publicly, and that's what Micah Shrewsbury did. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We will take a break. When we come on back, Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of the Washington Huskies, is going to join us coming up in a little over a week. His team going to be playing in a bowl game. College football playoff semifinals up against Texas. The winner goes to the national championship game.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
And away we go, rock and roll in hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Let's go out to the guest line right now. And my next guest, everywhere he goes, he is just absolutely elite, whether that was as a baseball player or a wide receiver at Sioux Falls, then becoming the head coach of Sioux Falls, dominating championship after championship. And then he's had a great run at Fresno State and an even better run at Washington. His first 2 years on the job, only 2 losses, and now is one of the 4 teams remaining in the semifinal of the college football playoff, where on New Year's Day, his Washington Huskies squad will go up against Texas, and the winner will go to the national championship game. He is Kalen DeBoer. Coach, congratulations. Always appreciate the time. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. So I know it's been a little bit since the Pac-12 championship game, and that was a wonderful performance by your team. But just to now have it sink in and knowing right around the corner is the semifinal, just what's going through your mind right now as you guys get ready to go play for a spot in the national championship game?
Yeah, we're just taking it day by day, and a coaching staff's got a lot going on. This 2 weeks of recruiting and signing day. Trying to get the home visits in. There's maybe a few that are, job opportunities that are out there for your staff, and then, getting a chance to have the prep for Texas and the semifinal game. It's a lot, but our staff's done a great job handling. Our guys have done a great job. They're done with school now with finals and ready to go attack, the game plan and put some practices together. So we're excited.
When you were walking off that field in Vegas and you won the Pac-12 championship game and you're going to the college football playoff, just what did really come to mind in that moment? Because I sensed a lot of aggressiveness from your team right at the jump, that they were a little bit tired, even though Oregon had a wonderful season, just how much praise Oregon was getting going into that game compared to your team.
Yeah, I mean, we knew we had a great opponent that we were playing in that game, and they'd played some great football. Really, I think the game we had played earlier against them and come out on the right end here at Husky Stadium probably really motivated them. And as the year went on, they were playing great football. We're playing great football, and just knew that this was going to be a game that we had to have if we wanted to get to the semifinals and make the college football playoff. And I'm just proud of our guys. I think you're asking what I was thinking walking off the field. Just proud of the way we attack things. I think it's never to where we feel like we have any regrets because of how we go about our business. Just the guys do the work each and every day. They prepare. As good as any group I've ever been around. Our chemistry and just togetherness, it's above and beyond anything I've seen. And so we enjoy the moments we're in, but we never take it for granted, and we don't take for granted especially what the work is that it takes to get to this point. And I'm reminding the guys every day, how we got here, how we got to 11-2 last year, how we got to being 12-0 and then winning a Pac-12 championship. So, it took a lot of work, and that's what it's going to take here to get this next win as well.
It's really wild, Coach, because like I said, everywhere you've gone, you've won. You've had a lot of success. You don't lose a lot. But these last 2 years, had a big-time job trying to bring back Washington. You're in the Pac-12. To only have 2 losses in both those games be less by 8 points, it's just remarkable what you guys have been able to do in such a short amount of time at Washington.
Yeah, it's a credit to our staff. It's a credit to the players just for opening their arms to us when we got here. I always tell them we chose them. Maybe, really the players didn't choose us. Some guys maybe had transferred in and young guys coming in that we've recruited. But for the most part, most of this team didn't get to choose who was coming in from my standpoint or the staff. But they did open their arms, and it didn't take long for them to just really, be okay with everything we wanted to do philosophically, whether it be scheme, culturally, and they've embraced it, and it's been a fun ride. I think, they're I think appreciative of what we've established here, and proud of it as well. So it's been 2 years full of a lot of great moments. And, it's always comes down to the work, though.
Do you still feel like your program gets disrespected? We were talking about the lead up to the Pac-12 championship game, and you guys are undefeated, but it still feels as if some people are trying to take away from what you guys have accomplished when you look at, margin of victory down the stretch of the season. I thought a lot of the conversation was a little bit laughable at times about your program.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you're always going to have people, right, that have some type of doubt, or their job is to be critical of the areas that you can be better at. And I think there's a lot of people that do see us for who we are and the areas that we excelled in from the beginning. And then areas where we've continued to improve and adjust and evolve. And, I think we are a complete team. I think that both sides of the ball have won games for us. And in special teams as well have done some big things and big moments. So I think we're a complete team. I do know that no matter what's been thrown our way and however we've won, the team aspect has always been what matters most. And, one side of the ball doesn't look at the other and be like, man, what's going on there? And then the next game, it's the other way. And we've played complete games, especially recently, and playing our best ball. And a lot of it has to do with, the health of our team, getting stronger and stronger here, especially in the last couple of weeks. So this little break is good for us. We're excited about where we're at and getting some of these guys back, for the semis.
Well, from start to finish, Kalen DeBoer, and I remember talking to you in the summer where everyone wants to talk about your offense with the way that they looked on paper. And you were like, no, the defense is coming along and the defense is playing well. We've really seen that down the stretch. How have you seen your defense get better from start to finish specifically?
Yeah, I think we last year were pretty good against the run, but we struggled against the pass at times against certain teams. And this year in the league, you are going to be tested every single week with the quarterback play and the skill that was just on every team throughout the Pac-12. And so I'm really proud of the way that they we really, learned who we were. We moved a few guys around, some guys from nickel to safety, like a Dom Hampton, from corner to nickel, like a Mish Powell, and the rest of them just kind of stayed the course. And, they've had times where they shut teams down. An Arizona State game where we had the interception for a touchdown that really kind of kick-started, the fourth quarter run we had there to win that game. But, they just stayed the course, and we've become, more physical as the season went along, and have been better against the run, much like we were a year ago. And I think just against the pass, we've been more consistent each and every week this season.
Coach Kalen DeBoer here with us on the Zach Gelb Show. I didn't think it was possible for me to love your quarterback any more than I already did. But at the Heisman Trophy, when I was covering it, and I see him open up his suit jacket and he has the teammates of the names of all of his teammates, that was just wonderful. And you have to love that as a coach.
Yeah, he's full of surprises, he really, the cool thing about Michael, and I get the chance to be around him every day. It's genuine. It's who he is. And so, no one really knew about him doing that, even his family. I certainly didn't. Whoever helped him get the jacket, obviously did. But he's just so thoughtful that way. And it just shows that it matters to him. And I can tell it matters to him every day in practice. He's so appreciative and grateful of the moment he's in now, and then especially the people that are around him that are helping him get to this point, and continue to help be pushed to be better. It's just really cool seeing him, and he's really grown as a leader. He'll get in there when we're in the midst of the fire, and he'll lead the team, and our guys really appreciate what he's all done, not just production wise, but leadership wise as well.
And the thing that stands out to me the most, and I know it's not easy, but it's his mental toughness with all the injuries that he's suffered to get this final opportunity at Washington and do what he did the last 2 years when so many people were counting him out. It's really a wonderful story.
And I think it's what really comes through. I think when those moments in a game happen where, adversity hits and things aren't going your way, I think he's translated that over to his play. And the opponent scores and takes the lead. No regrets, no woulda, coulda, shouldas, just worried about the next moment and that the things he can control. And, a lot of times he's responded with drives, and our offense is scoring again to get us back the lead. He's just done that time and time again, not just this year, but even last year. And I think a lot of it is just a testament to what he's been through in life and with all those injuries. And he's just been able to really compartmentalize how to respond when different things do pop up.
I know you're focused on Texas, but he's going to have an NFL future. Let's just say I'm an NFL GM, and I call you up and I go, Kalen DeBoer, I'm thinking about using an early first-round pick on Michael Penix Jr. Why should I use it? Sell me on your quarterback.
Yeah, I think he makes all the throws from an arm talent standpoint. I mean, he throws a ball and he can throw it wherever he wants, as far down the field. He can throw it from college hash, which is not like an NFL hash, to the opposite sideline, on a line. And I think he throws a really catchable ball. I think, that's the thing, the receivers just get these balls that are nice. When he can put some touch on it, he will. It's catchable. The ball placement is elite. He processes things very quickly. He'll stand in the pocket and make that throw when he needs to, but is also a great athlete and get out and run. And then just, the way his football IQ, just ability to check protections and correspond maybe blitzes and blitz patterns to coverages. And it flows really fast for him. He's taken a lot of reps at a high college, level. And I think all that's applicable to be able to make that transition to the next level.
When they announced that Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, obviously, it's nothing against Jaden, but there has to be natural disappointment because you wanted your guy to win the award. What was going through your thought process when you found out at the ceremony that he didn't win the award?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you're happy for Jaden, and he had a great season and is a great football player. Selfishly, you look at what Michael did, and I think for us, we know that he won some games with some big throws and some big drives in the biggest moments. Pac-12 championship, the Oregon game early in the season, Oregon State, finishing the game off when he needed to with some throws on third down when you're trying to figure out, should you run or pass? I mean, you can go on and on. The response in the Utah game in the first half where it was kind of a shootout and just back and forth. I mean, you can go on and on. And he just made those big plays in the big games. And I guess if you're asking what my thoughts were, I just still was proud, just proud of how far he's come, just how well he represents himself, his family, myself, our football program, our community, all the alumni. I mean, we're so proud of him just because he's first class in everything he does.
When we get to the future, in that quarterback room, you have Austin Mack, you added in Will Rogers. Just how about them both, what Will could bring to the program and where Austin is at from a developmental standpoint?
Yeah, Will coming in has played a lot of snaps, got over, 1,000 completions in his career, which is a lot. And, I don't think he's going to be overwhelmed by big stadiums full of a lot of people and going to lead in a way just based on what he's done in the past where it's going to be done, the way you want. He'll incorporate himself into this team and just a lot of confidence that way. Very accurate passer, a lot of experience. Austin Mack is an elite talent for us. We're super excited. He's still young, but he got a chance for a whole year now to see really what it takes to win a championship through Michael, and the other quarterbacks, Dylan Morris too. Just the daily discipline that it takes to be elite. He's seen it. I think that's important. You don't know what you don't know sometimes, and he's been front and center, sitting in this room with Coach Grubb and Michael Penix, taking it all in here for the last few months.
The transfer portal has its positives and its negatives. I'm just wondering, as a coach, is it tougher to now develop players with that thought that they, could easily go into the transfer portal if they think it's not going at the rate that they wanted it to go?
Well, I think that's our job, is just continue to focus on the roster you have and bring the best out of them. Help them enjoy this experience that they have playing college football. That will never change. That's our job. And, those guys will hopefully, develop and grow and know that that's what one of the attributes of being here at UW is with this staff, and decide to stay the course and just continue to play football here as a Husky. But I think getting guys to plug in and play some areas where maybe you're a little shorthanded or need a guy, that's one of the pieces I think that the portal does allow. And let's face it, right? I ended up here one way or another, right? Technically, I guess I entered the portal too, right? And so things change for these guys when a coach leaves or other players come in. That's kind of, this time that they're in college football, it comes and goes really quick. And you just hope that they all have this great experience playing the game that they love.
If I would have told you when you got the job, Kalen DeBoer, that your second year on the job, you'd be playing for a national championship and you would be in the Final Four of the college football playoff, what would you have told me? Do you believe that success could happen that quickly at Washington?
Yeah, I've really never it's never been about getting to a certain point and a timeline. I think just more than anything, it's about putting the pedal down and going as hard as you can and knowing that anything's possible. Last year, not this season, but a year ago, our theme was no limits. And not letting people preseason, during the season, not letting them decide on what we were capable of. And I think we exceeded even last year people's expectations. I've learned at different places, being fortunate enough to be with other coaches, and one of whom would be Fresno State. Just, they were 1-11 before we got there, and the next season we went 10-4, went to a conference championship, and went 12-2 the year after. Won 2 Power 5 games, won a conference championship. So anything can happen really quick if you just get the right people around you from a staff standpoint, build around, the players and the personnel. Obviously, a quarterback's critical. I think, having some line play that's strong, offensive and defensive line is critical. And so anything's possible, though. And so I wouldn't have been completely thrown off if that was the case, if you'd have told me that. But I'm certainly happy that we've come this far, this quickly.
Has it really sunk in yet that coming up on New Year's Day, you guys are going up against Texas with the spot of the national championship game on the line?
Yeah, I think so. I do. I think we have. I think that this is something that was a goal of ours at the beginning of the season. There were guys that passed on going on to the NFL to stick around and do something like this, win a conference championship. And the cool thing is the guys never got ahead of themselves. It was always about focusing on the now and let the results take care of themselves. But there was this vibe, this vision that our guys had. And so, I think it has set in because this is where we wanted to be, and what we've been working hard to do. And we know this program is capable of this from the beginning. And here we are.
Last thing I'll ask you, Kalen DeBoer, when you take a look at Texas, we all know how good of a program they have and the job Sark's doing and who the quarterback is with Quinn Ewers. What is really jumping off the page of you when you get in your preparation for them?
Yeah, I mean, they're so well coached all around. And, we played them a year ago, and they're just a different team. I think we are too, but they're just a different team. You can tell the growth has continued to happen, the belief, the physicality, just everyone's seem to be moving around a little faster and a little bigger. Some nice additions, to the team, or guys that have stepped up and playing better than even a year ago because of the experience now that they've gained. So physicality, especially up front, and I guess the whole team physically, they just do a nice job. You can tell like the chemistry and just the culture is heading in the right direction. Coach Sark's done an amazing job there in the last 3 years.
Well, Coach, happy holidays. Good luck. And thank you so much for always joining us here on CBS Sports Radio. We really do appreciate it.
You bet. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Coach Kalen DeBoer, the Washington Huskies. What a wonderful story that has been. And his team has an opportunity to punch a ticket to the national title game if they're able to take care of business up against Texas. And I think that game is going to be high scoring. I think Alabama, Michigan, the winner's going to be like 23-20. It's going to be that close game like that. I think this one we could get some points like 34-31, maybe even like a 41-42, 35 kind of realm of game. I expect there to be a lot of points between Washington and Texas. All right, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a break. We'll come on back, and we'll talk about the future landscape of college football as well. How many brands that are not in the Big Ten or the SEC are still attractive to maybe join one of those conferences in future years?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Kind of like this beat still. Can you bump this a little bit? All righty. I feel like I'm ready to go out to a club. Do a little fist pumping. Maybe we'll blow off dinner tonight, guys. And we'll go out clubbing in New York City. Samter, he has immaculate club vibes. You know, he could be Jersey Shore a little bit. Oh, come on. Let's get a camera on Samter right now. You could probably stop the the sound effects, but I did appreciate the fist pumping that you did. You're a good fist pumper. Back in your day, you must have been an elite fist pumper down in the club.
Hey, listen, we had Mike the Situation on not long ago. He taught me everything I need to know.
Yeah, one more time. Do a little fist pump for the camera so they could just see. See, now you messed it up. With the music, it looked good. You were in sync. Then you look just all out of rhythm right now. You got to stop with the sound effects. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. This would actually be the perfect time to play the Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce audio. So what's the background behind this, Samter, before we play it?
So obviously the New Heights podcast is amazing. And it's Jason and Travis Kelce together. And I guess they take questions from listeners or viewers. So they got asked a question from somebody on Twitter. Why do NFL players allow the staff to squirt them with water or Gatorade and not squirt it for themselves? So and then this was kind of their answer.
So a team trainer runs onto the field and then squirts those guys with some water. Make sure you get it right in the mouth. You know, there's a lot of drops that could probably be used right here. But that's what usually happens when you watch a football game and there's a timeout or a stoppage in play, or even on the sideline. There's some squirting that also goes on the sideline. Here is Jason and Travis Kelce.
Why don't players squirt their own water?
Hey,
that is such a good question.
You kind of just know when somebody reaches up to squirt you to open up your mouth.
Squirt, yeah.
And then you just get squirted. They don't have to do the squirting. You can do the squirting sometimes. But, when you develop a relationship, you just know when you're about to get squirted on.
You develop the relationship.
Yeah. You don't want to just be letting randos squirt on you. I'll let a teammate squirt me sometimes.
That's just a good teammate.
Yeah. I'll squirt you guys if you need one.
I'm Trainer Trav, man.
Trainer Trav. Sometimes they don't screw the lids on all the way. I opened my mouth to accept your squirt, and you dumped it all down my chest.
Wow. That's some interesting audio there.
And that's the abridged version. It got even crazier. It was like 2 minutes of them just going off on the squirting.
Yeah, I could imagine. I guess it just comes down to people like being pampered. Like, that's what it is. For example, if you want to do a service for me and you want to squirt water into my mouth and I don't have to physically pick up the water bottle and drink the water myself, yeah, I'm good with that.
And also, like, in a shorter timeout when it's kind of quick on and off, I mean, do the guys want to reach into the pail, grab a water bottle? It's a guy just walking around, boom, 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 boom. You can get like 10 guys at once. But here's the other question, right? Like, I'm listening to them, right? Yeah, I know. That came off bad, too. Jeez. Are you getting tired of the Kelce shtick?
No.
Or do you just find them, like, awesome and hilarious?
So I listen to New Heights before everyone else listened to New Heights. Like, I wouldn't listen to the entirety of the episode, but I would listen to some social media clips and then click the link and then watch like a little bit of the episode. But now, like, they had a very successful and popular podcast before Taylor Swift. But now having the Swifties involved, that takes them all the way up the charts to like number 1 or number 2, whatever they rank in the podcasting world, right at the top. So I think there are some people that originally liked the show and liked Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, and now it's like, oh, I liked them when it wasn't necessarily cool and popular to like them. Not that it was ever uncool or unpopular to like them, but now since everyone else is getting involved into the party, that's where some fatigue may happen. But I'm a huge fan of Jason Kelce, and I've always thought Travis Kelce to be extremely entertaining and someone that's just easy to root for, regardless if he's on your team or not. And I interviewed him at a Super Bowl in Atlanta. That was the Patriot-Ram Super Bowl, the second one, the 13-3 game. And he told me this story because I said to him, I go, you have to have an all-time great like brother fight story with Jason. And they talked about how mom was making dinner once and they got into a little kerfuffle and one of them got thrown through the oven. Like, the fight got so violent and so, like, back and forth between brothers. One crashed into the oven, and the oven absolutely broke when mom was just trying to make some dinner.
Poor Donna. I don't know. Listen, I love the Kelces. I find them to be funny. I loved Jason when they won that first Super Bowl, and he's the hilarious.
Whole damn team!
Yeah. And he was really funny 5 years ago, and I still find them funny. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, right, there's guys who, like these guys are both naturally funny, and they have great chemistry, but like sometimes lately, maybe it's because of the Taylor Swift stuff, and they're trying to like play it up a little bit. It feels like they're trying too hard to be funny. No, it feels like they're trying too hard to keep up that that persona.
I don't think that's the case because this is who they've always been. I just feel as if now there's a heightened awareness to it because it's getting shoved down your throat more.
I'm just saying for me individually, I've been listening to through the
New Heights
podcast for quite a while.
Do we need to squirt some water down your throat now?
All over my chest.
Calm down. We're on in the afternoons. It's not a night show anymore.
Just make sure
Take it easy.
Just make sure you screw the top on tight. No, I've been listening to them too. So I'm just saying for me, I'm not saying for anybody else. Just for me, I used to find them so funny because they were just naturally funny.
Okay.
Now when I listen to them, it feels like they're trying so hard because they've skyrocketed up this, perception area, and their Q rating is so high that they're trying so hard to keep up that persona, and it's almost like they're trying too hard now.
Well, you know what they're both trying to do, and they don't need to really try anymore because if you lived in Philadelphia and you knew Jason Kelce before this, everyone knew he would eventually one day be very successful in the media just by listening to his weekly interview that he does on WIP for years. And I really do believe this is Jason Kelce's last season. I would be absolutely shocked if Jason Kelce is playing football next year. I think he is retiring after this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if Travis Kelce isn't that far behind him. You know, I think now we get accustomed to guys, we think that they're going to play for years and years and years, and Travis Kelce's still a very good football player, but you're starting to see some signs of decline as well. I think with their popularity, and they've already had so much success before this, but now it getting taken to a new height, let's just say, I do believe that this is Jason's final season, and then he'll go on to have a very successful media career. And remember the position that he plays and how many hits to the heads that he has taken as well. And I don't think, like, if you ask me an over-under right now with 3 more years of Travis Kelce playing football, I would take the under 2. Like, I could see him playing next year, winning another Super Bowl, and then riding off into the sunset. Like, I really do believe the next Super Bowl Travis Kelce wins, he's going to walk away from the game. So when you have all these opportunities and these moments and this popularity, you start to think about setting yourself up for the next chapter. Anyway, real quickly, because I've been teasing this for a while and I got to get to it. For the future of college football, I've made this point a ton. I just want to reiterate it. With Florida State wanting out of the ACC, and you'll have a money fight and a legal fight coming around the corner, Florida State is deserving of going to the Big Ten or the SEC. I think they're a better fit for the SEC. But I think what a lot of people lose sight on when we have these conversations of we should just go to a 64-team conference and just have everyone operate. It's the haves and the have-nots, and that should be the future of college football. With how much money the Big Ten and the SEC make and how much money they make from a TV part of it in this current system, why would they conform to that? And also, don't think just because a lot of teams recently have shifted conference and we've seen teams join the SEC and see teams join the Big Ten, that everyone else is going to get an invite. Because there's not that many elite brands left in college football if you're not already in the Big Ten or the SEC. Like Notre Dame, right, that's the top one out of all the teams that aren't in the Big Ten or the SEC, and they're independent. And Notre Dame right now is fine without joining a conference because they like operating on their own. They make a ton of money, even though they could make more money if they joined the SEC or the Big Ten. But Notre Dame is an elite brand. I think Florida State is a very, very, very good brand. Also, you could say a great brand. And there will be a landing spot for them. You know, you look at Clemson, I do think, because these usually happens like in pairs when you have teams jump, I think Danny Kanell is right, that if Florida State leaves, then Clemson will follow them and they'll get a spot. But I don't know what Clemson's going to look like moving forward. You know, from a football standpoint, they have not met the Clemson standard the last 2 or 3 seasons, even with winning an ACC championship, not this year, but the year before that. And what's life going to look like for them without Dabo Swinney? And Miami, you know, it's still a good brand. You know, there could be a spot at the ACC falls for them, but Miami hasn't been great in a long time. And then you have Duke and UNC who are interesting. And I think we all believe like their basketball programs make more money than the football program. The football programs actually make more money than the basketball programs, if you go and look at the breakdown, but the basketball programs are still extremely profitable. So I think somewhere Duke or UNC would have a place. I don't think in the SEC, if it's going to be somewhere, it would be in the Big Ten. But outside of that, if you're not a Big Ten or SEC school right now and you look at trying to join, you know, Notre Dame is number 1. Then it's probably Florida State 2, lumped in with Clemson. And then Miami, UNC, and Duke are kind of all on the same playing field. But after that, for the schools that have not joined the Big Ten or the SEC already, I don't think the brands in college football are as attractive as what others do when talking about the idea of the Big Ten or the SEC potentially joining you down the road, or you joining them down the road. It is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll come on back. The 49ers or the field to win the Super Bowl. Also give you a little thought or two on the Thursday night football game that will come your way later tonight. Update time first, though. Here's El Capitan Marco Belletti.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, virtual playoff game tonight in L.A. Rams and Saints. Both teams enter 7-7, part of a 4-team clump for the final 2 playoff spots. Saints also tied for the NFC South lead, as Dennis Allen's aware. In order to slow down the Rams, you got to cool off Matthew Stafford.
His location, his timing, his accuracy, I think all that's been really outstanding, and he's made some throws in the face of some pretty good heat at times.
Elsewhere, Bengals Steelers pivotal game, playoff positioning on Saturday. Since he took a major hit, though, Jamar Chase ruled out with a shoulder injury. Steelers ruled out Kenny Pickett, so Mason Rudolph makes a start. Pittsburgh also will likely have Cam Hayward expected to play after he cleared concussion protocol. NBA action, Clippers and Thunder. L.A. coming in red hot, having won 9 straight and seemingly found themselves after the initial difficulties following the James Harden trade.
I think we're trusting in each other, trusting in the system, trusting in the game plan, and sticking with it. Like I said before after the game, like these guys that have been in this league for 10 plus 15 years. They've seen it all.
That's Norman Powell. And Florida State has called a special board of trustees meeting for Friday morning, possibly looking to challenge the grant of rights in order to leave the ACC. I'm Marco Belletti.
CBS Sports Radio is turning up the heat this December. From the NFL playoff push, bowl games, and coast-to-coast action from the NBA hardcourt to the college game, we've got you covered.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Today's memorable moment is sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. The last time the Rams and Saints squared off was in Week 11 of last season. New Orleans was down 14-10 at halftime, but scored 17 second-half points to win 27-20. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, he completed 21 of 25 passes for 260 yards and 3 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. The Rams lead the all-time series, though, 43-35. Whenever I think of this game, it's impossible to not think about the NFC title game between the Saints and the Rams, where you had the play that should have been a penalty that wasn't a penalty, and then the game goes into overtime. And people forget the Drew Brees interception in overtime, right? Like, because Saints fans, deservedly so, were so irate about the flag not being thrown. You still got into overtime, and Drew Brees threw an interception. And then you had the game-winning kick to send the Rams to the Super Bowl before they lost 2 weeks later up against the Patriots. So for the game tonight, I don't know about you guys. Like, Stu, this is a game, Rams and Saints, that has playoff implications. Like, the Saints to continue pace and try to win the NFC South, or if they don't win the NFC South, and let's say the Bucs get the better part of them down the stretch, well, at least to be a wild card team. And the Rams, they are probably like the quietest, hottest team in the league right now because they got off to that bad start. They had all the injuries, but now they have a good chance to make the postseason. But I don't know about you guys. I feel as if there is zero juice for this game tonight. Where the Saints have like a big, passionate fan base. The Rams, all right, it's, you're in LA now, back once again. You won a Super Bowl, but it doesn't seem like there's as much fanfare around the Rams as you would expect for a normal NFL team. But for this game, even though neither of these teams are great, and maybe it's a product of mediocrity, I have not heard anybody. We just did a national radio show for 2 hours and 45 minutes, and we didn't even mention that, oh, yeah, you got this game tonight, Rams and Saints. There is zero buzz, zero juice for this one.
Yeah, you're right. There really is, and it's crazy because it's like two quarterbacks also that have had, at least a little bit of success in their past. It's not like it's two backups. We've seen a lot of games this year where it's, backup quarterbacks and guys you don't want to see. It's actually not the worst game. We've had some really bad Monday and Thursday games that are just completely unwatchable, but I don't think this is one of them. This is actually a pretty decent game.
And the Rams are a 4-point favorite. I don't get how either of these teams would be favored by 4 points or more. So just by saying that, I think a lot of people are going to plus the points, and I'll lay the 4 points with the Rams. And also, I don't want to root for, I like the Saints, but I can't root for Derek Carr. I just can't anymore. I'm sick of the Derek Carr story. It's always woe is me. Anytime he looks like he's about to be a top 10 quarterback, he doesn't just stumble at the bar. He falls down, face plants, and he moves so far away from being a top 10 quarterback. I also saw some stats that his brother was pumping out the other day, David Carr, and I don't like what he said about benching Jalen Hurts to go play Marcus Mariota. So I'll root for Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp tonight. Rams laying 4, but I will sprinkle a little money on anytime touchdown Chris Olave. It makes no sense to me how that number is at plus 220. It may be too good to be true, but I did sprinkle some money earlier before the show did start on Chris Olave at plus 220. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Mo in San Diego, wants to chime in on the conference football talk in college football. Mo, what's going on?
What's up, brother? It's been a while, but good to talk to you, and hope you have happy holidays.
You too.
So I was just talking about that. You were talking about the whole situation with Florida State, and they want to get out, the ACC and all this other stuff, and Clemson comes behind them and stuff like this, the defection of the ACC and going into these other conferences. But my question is this: why do you want to do it now? If you're Florida State, if you had gone undefeated like you did this year, going into the 12-team playoff, 100 out of 100 times you're going to make the playoff. As a matter of fact, we could argue that if Florida State does the same exact thing this year in the same situation next year, they would even be in the top 4 because the committee would say, why would we need to take Florida State out of the top 4 when Alabama's still getting in? We don't have to screw anyone over. We'll keep them in the top 4 anyway. Why would you leave and go to a conference where you got to fight with all those schools? If you could just get the top 2 in the ACC, you probably get in every year.
Yes. So you're coming from a football logical standpoint. It's also why, like, I don't think Oklahoma or Texas should leave from the Big 12 to go to the SEC.
Now. It's like, why would you do that now?
But Mo, even though you're making sense, it's all about the sense. It's all about the money, and that's why they would go, because Florida State can make a lot more money in the SEC, and I thought it would be impossible for them to leave. Because they have that deal with the ACC until 2036, I believe it is, and they have to pay $150 million to leave, and then they'd also have to buy out their TV rights. But we had Chip Patterson on the other day, and he said that there's a legal way to get out of it where they could go, leave the conference, fight it out legally, and not take any TV money from the SEC or the Big Ten, and then maybe get a signing bonus, wink, wink, when they join to get all that cash that would have transpired. So it's purely based off money, and to no surprise, money, I don't want to say it's ruined college athletics how we've known it, but it's totally changed college athletics, because what doesn't make sense from playing or from a geography standpoint, and like you're right, a lot of people go, what the heck is going on? You just made the road tougher for yourself. A lot of these schools only care about the money.
Well, am I still on?
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Mo.
Okay, well, you know I'm a former college athlete, college football player, so you know this is near and dear to me and stuff, but it's just as ironic that the schools talk about not wanting the student athletes to make any money. At the same time, they are in an absolute dash to make as much as possible.
Well, welcome to the hypocrisy of the NCAA, Mo.
Oh, my God.
That's why I actually appreciate when Kalen DeBoer joined us, and I asked him about the transfer portal and managing it. He goes, I technically went in the transfer portal too. I left one job and went to another. I appreciated Kalen DeBoer when he joined us earlier in the show that he admitted that.
Yeah, it's the reality of it. Here's the thing with Florida State, and just to close this out and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
If they do that, somehow they force their way out, they lose all of that money with the TV rights until they can get back and get back around on it, based on the wink-wink deal or whatever. But at the same time, they may struggle to get to the playoffs each year, and then their program could actually go further down because every year they're fighting with the SEC schools just to get in. Like, that's not good for them.
No, I totally understand what you're saying, Mo, but they were thinking about leaving earlier because they wanted a bigger share of the pie because they're a huge part of the ACC. It's them and Clemson pretty much. And now when you factor in that they just went undefeated and didn't get into a 4-team playoff, even though it goes to 12 next year, it's just more and more and more, and them trying to push out of the ACC and more arguments to be made to go get more money and join the SEC. I'll give you an update on the poll question. We'll do more of this tomorrow. It's at CBS Sports Radio. If you were picking Super Bowl champion this year, are you going the 49ers or the field? Right now, 57.3% say the field, 42.7% say the 49ers. 9.9 times out of 10. Just a general rule of thumb for people that are new to this show. If you ask me so-and-so or the field in a single elimination sport, 9.9 times out of 10, I would take the field. But in this case, with what I've seen through the first 15 weeks of the season, I can't give you an argument to say that I would go the field here. I would go with the San Francisco 49ers. We'll delve into that more coming up tomorrow. This is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Big Football Friday. Channing Crowder will join us tomorrow to preview the Cowboys and Dolphins game. Last time he joined me on CBS Sports Radio, he trashed Dak Prescott and made a whole lot of Cowboys fans angry, and the thing did like over 1 million views. So we'll get his thoughts on what Dak Prescott is going to do this weekend up against his Miami Dolphins tomorrow. Like to thank Kalen DeBoer for stopping by and joining us earlier in the program. You could use the Odyssey app rewind function, and you could find all those previous segments. Also go to my Twitter page, @Zach Gelb, and we'll have the link in my bio to all of our previous segments. Or you could watch all the show on YouTube as well. That's up for the rest of my life, and even after my life. Just as long as YouTube is up, we do shows every day. If you missed any of it, you go to our YouTube page on CBS Sports Radio, and you can find all the segments to the show as well, the entirety of the show. Also like to thank Danny Kanell, and big thanks to Stu, Samter, and each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific.